Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the IP3 podcast. I'm Kevin, joined today by both Alex and Rhea. Today we're going to be giving you a bit of a preview for the upcoming Skirmish season. It is 3 or 4 weeks long this season, and it is split between Blitz and Living Legend. So we're going to talk a bit about both formats today. Probably a bit more about Living Legend, as none of the three of us are particularly avid Blitz players, but we'll at least stop at Blitz for a little bit and give you our thoughts on what that format probably looks like.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to contrast the least popular Flesh and Blood format with the future most popular Flesh and Blood format in one Skirmish season. But
I feel like it's the least popular for us, though. Like, I feel like there's some stores that only run Blitz. So,
for sure.
but yeah.
Before we dive into those formats, though, we've got some more Rosetta spoilers. They keep on rolling in. First and foremost, I mean, one spoiler was just like clearly head and shoulders better than the rest.
Yeah, I know adaptive dissolver, right?
It's tough to beat. It's real tough to beat. No, but our very own Rhea Adams spoiled Flutter Steps.
Yeah, that card is very interesting. Illusionist Majestic leg equipment. Pretty clearly aimed at Enigma New Moon, because that is Ward, and it is miles better than her alternatives of Skywalker Takeaway or Aqua Lapse. Those were her next best in slot equipment. But it says Ward 1, and then when it's destroyed, you can play your next aura this turn as though it were an instant. So it's kind of like Mage Master Boots that you don't have to pay for, and they block one, but you don't get to choose when to do it. I think it's a pretty interesting side grade upgrade for Iris of Reality decks. Obviously, Enigma New Moon is going to play it, but I can see metas where that ends up being really strong in CC if the bunch of Iris matchups at the top of the meta. And it might be Living Legend playable in Prism, because there are a lot of matchups where Footsteps just doesn't do much. And so even potentially getting like a free Shimmers of Silver cheated in would be huge.
That's very interesting. I had heard you mentioned Enigma New Moon before, but I hadn't thought about it in the context of LL, where it can help you turbo out the auras that you're already trying to turbo out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you play all of the zero cost blue Spectra, you have a 61% chance of having one in your opening hand, which is probably when they're going to be destroyed. So it just adds like another layer of my opponent is not allowed to attack me on the first turn of the game.
Interesting. Excited to see what you do.
I think it's potentially quite strong. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a go.
And they're gonna ship you a cold foil copy of that, right? Because you spoiled it. That's generally how that works.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Baller. That's so cool.
And the playmat and some sort of special cold foil creator promo from Rosetta, which be interesting to see what that was. It was Cosmic Awakening for part of the Mistveil. So it typically is some like big, flashy, majestic, yeah.
Very cool. Also noticing you got some new digs behind you, and
I do. So one of the reasons I haven't streamed in a while is I moved. The place is mostly put together. We still have some wall decorating to do. You can see the armory posters on the floor and not on the walls where they should be, but we'll work on that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of not a small miracle, but there's a chance that we wouldn't have been able to record this at all, because all three of us spent varying parts of last week without power, because there were some tornadoes in Ohio that cause some serious damage. I think I was the last one to get it back. I got my power back Sunday morning. The storm was Tuesday.
Yeah. We were both on Sunday. It was not a fun time.
No.
Not a fun time.
You know what is a fun time? Planning for the worst. That is a really
ridiculous.
bad segue, but the card is sweet.
I mean, we certainly were planning for the worst last week as we were reading Plan for the Worst. Alex, you're kind of our like resident ranger, right? Tell us.
That is what the border says.
What's going on here?
So Plan for the Worst is a ranger action that pitches for blue, costs 0, blocks for 3, and then it allows you to look at target hero's hand and arsenal. At the beginning of their next end phase, they discard all cards in their hand and destroy all cards in their arsenal. And then search your deck for up to 3 traps, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle 2 cards from your hand back into your deck.
That's a lot of text.
Yeah.
Card's absurd.
It's a lot of text on a card that costs 0 to play and is a blue 3 block.
Cost 0 to play, blue 3 block, uninteractable disruption. The seek and destroy effect just happens. Your opponent can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You get.
And I'm running as many of those effects in my deck as I can get already.
Mm-hmm. You get to search whatever trap you want. And so this is important because I missed this on the first read through the card. The 2 cards that you shuffle into your deck are not randomly picked. You get to shuffle whatever 2 cards you want into your deck. So it just is go get the trap of your choice if you have 3 traps in your deck.
Right. It's look at the opponent's hand, see what they're going to do. Oh, they have a pummel. Like, I'm going to go get a buzzsaw trap. They've got 3 cards that all have go again. Okay, I'm going to go get collapsing trap. Or, the legendary ones are obviously the best ones to get and trigger because they're so devastating. But even just any traps that trigger, this lets you just pick your perfect spot. I know at Armory 2 weeks ago, I was playing against Prism as Riptide, and I had the Prism at 1 life, no shields, no ward for probably about 4 turns, just like cycling through my deck trying to find a trap to get the win, but could not find one. So this definitely would have helped.
Yeah, and it's similar to how Codex of Frailty is generally such a phenomenal like 1 card hand. This obviously it's a very different take on it, but similarly powerful. Yeah, like the drawback of those legendary traps is that they're legendary, is that you're gonna come across them in a game probably, but there's only one. Imagine if they printed a card that tutored Soul Reaping for Chain to his hand. He's just like, hey, you can have this now. Best card in your deck, you want it? It's here. And yeah, so now suddenly those legendary traps are a little more readily available. And then you've got things like Murky Water to get them back.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of
I just think it's
traps.
funny. This is what the 3rd busted blue block 3 majestic that Riptide has, because he has the 3 signature traps, and then he got Intoxicating Shot, and now he got Plan for the Worst. So like, Riptide just has the strongest blue base of any ranger ever, and it's not close.
LSS keeps trying to tell me to put blue cards in my Riptide deck, but I still refuse. Maybe this will change my mind.
I think this one's going to change your mind. It doesn't even cost you a card. Like, you spend the card and then you get a card back. So it's
and even if there's nothing to actually like destroy from Arsenal or threaten destroying from Arsenal with the Seek and Destroy effect, you just get to look at their hand. There's this is a game with you're a deck that has a bunch of defense reactions and traps, and knowing how your opponent is going to sequence or how they could sequence is incredibly valuable. Like that information is it kind of easy to lose it in the rest of the text, but it's extremely relevant to the power of the card.
And the cruelest part is they can't not play into the trap that you go get. Because if they say, I'm not going to play into this collapsing trap, okay, well, you lose your whole hand from the Siege and Destroy effect. So, like, you have to play into it anyways. It's crazy. Card's awesome. I'm scared of Riptide.
It's a bit frightening.
Riptide's good. My if anybody follows our Twitter, I posted
at least 102 people.
The Riptide list I've been working on. It has been working well. So if everybody likes Riptide, can take that for a spin. It includes 6 copies of a previously unplayable card, Point Tip. So
that's a lot of copies of Point the Tip.
I didn't know we had gone past 3, so that's news to me. Like three, I can see it, but yeah, that's a lot.
The yellow one is only a buff for 2, but most of the encounter arrows say if it has an encounter, give it +1. So it's really like a red, but it pitches yellow and has an encounter. So I'll stop talking about Riptide now.
Yeah, so next up, the other spoiler that dropped on Saturday with me, Splatter Stroll. Not technically a Rhinar specialization, but this one's for the green guy. Like, it's very clear.
Yeah. So Splatter Skull is a brute attack action. Pitches for red. It's a majestic because it's expansion slot and they're all majestics. Pitches for 1, costs 2, 6 power, 3 block, and just says simply, when this hits a hero, choose a face down card in their banished zone that was banished by Intimidate this turn. So no other weird accidental shadow shenanigans or other things. It specifically has to be intimidated, and then put it into their graveyard. So finally, you get to just, when you have a specific tangible reward beyond damaging your opponent's life total for intimidating a couple cards and forcing an attack through. And yeah, it's an unwritten Rhinar specialization, at least for now. But at the same time, it's the sort of card that future brutes, obviously Rhinar is like the intimidate brute. I suspect in the future other brutes are, it's good in KO, but KO is obviously not an intimidate brute. But he's not into it enough for Splatter Skull probably to really pay dividends. But this is just will be good in the long run for future brutes, I'm sure. Barraging Beatdown's another card.
Barraging Beatdown is really good with this. The other really interesting scenario with this that I think Savage Land News Network mentioned in their spoiler was if you just attack with this and you're holding 1 card in hand, your opponent's like, oh, okay, Rhinar had a bit of a brick turn. They're just attacking with 2 for 6 in our Arsenal's Blood Rush Bella or whatever and set up their big turn. They say no blocks. And then you discard an Agile Windup was your last card in hand. At reaction speed, you now have an Intimidate and are giving this an on hit. So it's almost like a pummel that also gives you an agility.
That's really cool.
Which is something really cool that only Rhinar can do with this.
Yeah, that's sweet. The card's a home run on design. Clearly not broken, but certainly potent, and we'll see play.
Yeah,
I think this is the first brute card that has the 5 words when this hits a hero.
So technically it's the second, or I guess you're right.
Are you thinking send packing?
Send packing, but send packing cares about not hitting, which is different. Which is weird.
Alex, you are technically correct.
You're the best kind of
correct. Kind of correct.
Futurama for the young guns out there who might not.
You should watch it.
You should watch Futurama because it's great. All right, last expansion slot card is in the notes for this episode. So Adaptive Dissolver. It's a new mechanologist equipment that is a base. Specifically, is a base. Adaptive Dissolver. It's majestic. It's got Arcane Barrier 1 as a base, which for all the Teklo fans out there, Your time has come. It finally
I'm
happened. We're all pretty happy for you, honestly.
I'm telling you, Boost Teklevosen is gonna be a deck one day. It's gonna be a deck one day. It's not yet. Adaptive Dissolver does not get it there. But
Adaptive Dissolver doesn't beat Zen.
Every set they print a better expansion slot card for that deck, and then like 3 more sets. Boost Teklevosen is going to be a really cool deck.
Every expansion slot set has a card for Riptide and a card for Teklevosen.
Yes.
And eventually it'll be the only 2 heroes left that haven't Living Legend. And
the issue is
their deck will just all say specialization.
the issue is it's not like happening at the same rate. Riptide is getting better way faster than Teklevosen is getting better.
Been around for... Was Bright Lights the first set after Outsiders?
The first
we had Dust Till Dawn.
draftable set, yeah.
Oh, okay,
there was
right.
Dust Till Dawn
Yeah,
in
so 2 sets. Riptide's been waiting a couple sets longer than Teklevosen, so. And Teklevosen's rich, he'll get over it.
The art on Adaptive Dissolver looks like the Iron Man.
I don't know that I like it. I think it's too close to adaptive plating. They're both the like
Blueprints.
very similar. Yeah.
I
think they're too similar
on the blueprint. I think I like the color scheme of Adaptive Dissolver better. Like the gray, I think is going to work really well with the cold foiling. But the rest of this card is so it's modular, similar to adaptive plating. Presumably that will be what the adaptive key or naming convention on mechanologist equipment will imply going forward. So action, no cost. Equip this to another equipment zone. So and it has Arcane Barrier 1. Right. So it still is not relevant. At least until they, I mean, I guess they could print a playable base equipment. Is that possible?
Say that again?
Like if the Evos in your deck that you play as cards were bases. They just haven't printed any that are deck cards. But theoretically you could
the red 2-cost set? Yeah, that has Battle 1.
You could have this in your inventory and fabricate.
You could
apply a base because it's modular. So if any of your stuff gets blown up, you can fabricate this from your inventory.
Interesting. Okay. To any slot. All right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't explain the action to move it from slot to slot, which is the part that I still don't get why they bothered to print that on the card. Because like, there's a cost to adding abilities to cards that don't do anything because it just wastes players' time and confuses them. So I'm waiting to see the payoff there for like, why is this worth putting on the card?
Maybe there'll be cards in the future that say like if this hits like destroy target arm equipment, you can like move it around to dodge the stuff. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Interesting. Very interesting.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Realistically, this is gonna get played in one slot of Teklevosen, probably for Rune Blades, because I don't think Teklevosen goes AB3 for Kano because it's already terrible, so you don't really.
It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, so this is probably this will be Teklo's new AB1 slot, which will be necessary with the influx of Arcane coming in, especially with Verdance is seems to be like a pinging wizard rather than like a singular uber large spell or combo turn. But yeah, so base Arcane Barrier 1 for Teklevosen. Awesome. Looks cool. My note for this one was Pat's head of Teklo player as they die to 30 damage Zen turns. Because
I'm telling you, 3 sets from now, we're going to be saying very different things about Teklevosen.
All right. Remind me. We'll come back to this and we'll address it. All right, so that's it for the expansion slots. The other new spoilers we got, in actually just the last couple of days, were 8 new sigils, which sort of seem to have earned that moniker, similar to I just lost it.
Transcend card.
Potions and
Amulets and
talismans and amulets.
talismans.
How they
Mhm.
all sort of have very similar formatting and sort of means of activation and playing. So these sigils, which is a little ironic, I'm guessing Sigil of Solace is just, it's old enough so it gets a pass on not being like this. But
And protection,
and protection. True.
which was a uprising card that no one put in their decks.
I don't know. It won me one game at Worlds. It wasn't great, but it did it.
That was probably the only game at Worlds that it won.
I believe that. So these sigils, they're all blue auras. There are generic ones, wizard ones, runeblade ones, and then one each of one lightning and one earth version. All these sigils have fancy promo versions that are going to be the buy a box promos with Rosetta. But basically, they all follow a reasonably similar templating, right? So, Sigil of Fyendal. Blue, 0 cost, 2 block, generic action aura, has go again. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. When this leaves the arena, gain 1 life. They all have similarly, not generally worth an entire card type effects on them. Sigil of Cycles is also generic. Go again, destroys the beginning of action phase. When this leaves the arena, discard a card, then draw a card.
The funny part about Sigil of Cycles,
Is
it somehow is the best Reiner card in the set, even better than Splatterstorm. Because it sets up
kind of
the
hilarious.
next turn cycle to just have a free Intimidate. It doesn't cost you a card from hand on the next turn cycle, and it lets you filter. And it turns on your claws.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Reiner players rejoice. This one's for you. We know you ran heavy
time
hitters,
is
but your
now.
time is now. Let's see. Which other
Best blue
sigils do we
Reiner's
have?
gotten in like
Sigil
5
of
sets.
Sanctuary.
Yeah, Sigil of Sanctuary. And it's sort of accompaniment, Sigil of Conductivity. So Sanctuary is an Earth instant aura. And Sigil of Conductivity is a Lightning instant aura. Both have a new mechanic keyword on them that is Arcane Shelter. They both have Arcane Shelter 1, which is basically it's Ward 1 specifically for arcane damage.
Yeah.
And then
Mandatory.
Mandatory. So it's not Spell Void. You can't wait and use it. The first time it would be popped, it gets popped. But they both have their extra marginal upside, which is when this leaves the arena, create an embodiment of Earth or Lightning, depending on which one you have in play. I think Sigil of Conductivity is a lot stronger than
It's
Sanctuary.
a lot stronger both in the token that it makes and because it has a potentially unintended ridiculous synergy with Volzar, which is Ocilio's weapon. So Volzar says that it goes from costing 1 resource to costing 0 resources if you control a sigil. And sigil conductivity stays until arcane damage is dealt. Well, if you're playing against an opponent that can't deal arcane damage, guess what? Your weapon is free for the rest of the game because that sigil is just gonna stay there until they scour it.
Yeah, and realistically, if you activate Volzar for free 4 times, then it's like you pitched that sigil for 4 plus.
Resources.
And you did it turns ago where it's actually not even costing you any cards from hand on those subsequent turns. So
yeah,
potentially quite strong. Little weird, but like it's cool that there's potentially a reason to, to want something that literally says Arcane Shelter, and to want it specifically in your non-arcane matchups is just kind of neat. My personal favorite of the bunch, Sigil of Deadwood, is a Runeblade action aura. Beginning of your action phase, destroy this. When this leaves the arena, create a Runechant token. It's a 2-block. It also has Go Again. So this is basically just a power crept blue Blessing of Occult, where Blessing of Occult costs 1 and doesn't have Go Again and makes 1 Runechant at the start of your next turn. This has Go Again for the turn you actually play it, which can be important because sometimes Creepers plays you just want Go Again on a non-attack action, which can be fine. And then, like 1 card for a Runechant is not a stellar rate, but it's a new 0-cost Runeblade aura, which can potentially matter with Sonata Galaxia. And yeah, it's not going to break any decks in half, but might find an interesting little niche for itself.
The more you're talking about it, the more I get it. I don't know. In general, I'm quite low on all these sigils because they just don't feel like they're worth a full card. Like, Conductivity is the closest, I think. But you're selling me if like you really care about Runechant generation, like Vincent. Going from one short of rune gating to getting that rune gate is very real.
The last few. So there's one more Runeblade one that is Sigil of the Arknight. That is another Blade action aura. Go again, cost 0. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. When this leaves the arena, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an attack action card, put it into your hand. So this card, so I'm with you, and I understand where you're coming from. So this is a slightly more palatable version of Tome of the Arknight. Tome of the Arknight is literally pay a life, flip a coin, maybe draw 2 cards, and hope that they're a good, helpful 2 cards to draw. This is, you can structure your deck in a way that you're a lot more likely to take advantage of what this sigil is offering. And if anything, I think it's could be most playable in Aurora as a blue to let you try and set up for like a effective 6 card hand on the following turn. If you take a bit of damage, send some modest damage back, set up your embodiment, get a good arsenal, play out this sigil, and if you're in a deck that's like 40 to 45 attacks, maybe you got something there. Personally, I don't see it, which is tragic because the promo art looks spectacular. It is classic, beautiful Runebladiness.
I just don't see it. The failure rate makes it so bad.
Do we think we might get attacks that say, if this hits, search for a card with Sigil in your deck and put it into the arena?
Now we'd be talking.
I would believe you if you told me that was a thing. I hope that isn't a thing, because it's my least favorite part of playing Prism Awakener of Soul, and I don't want that effect more in Flesh and Blood. I hate on-hit shuffle.
You don't
hate
want
it
to
so
shuffle
much.
12 times a game?
No, I really don't.
Rhea out here just stirring the pot. This is ridiculous.
We played Prism at the Pro Tour, and I didn't think that they could print a deck that shuffled more, and then they printed Zen. That deck shuffled more.
You're not wrong. All right, so last 2 auras, we have Sigil of Forethought and Sigil of Temporal Manipulation. Both are wizard instant auras. Both are at the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. And Sigil of Forethought reads, when this leaves the arena, create a ponder token. So just a cantrip, kind of a slow cantrip. It's weak. It's not, unless you have a deck where specifically cards being auras or sigils has further relevance to what you're doing, this card is not playable. It's just not.
This one is an instant, right?
Yes, both of the wizard ones
Yeah.
are instants.
So like the one thing it has going for it compared to blue Read the Ripples is you don't have to spend an action point on it. I don't know. Wizards historically ponder terribly because they have to play a bunch of bad blues to have enough resources to play the good red arcane spells. I don't see it, but maybe it's like a turn 0 free roll.
True. Yeah, they're not all going to be home runs. But Sigil of Temporal Manipulation. This one, I think,
I feel like you might be able to play this in
potentially,
Blaze with the amount of opting that you're doing.
yeah. So Temporal Manipulation is when this leaves the arena, banish the top card of your deck. If it's a non-attack action card, you may play it this turn as though it were an instant. So you wouldn't want it in a deck unless you have a similar like blind hit rate to, like a, like a 75-80% plus chance of hitting blind. That
This
said,
is also a way. Sorry.
okay.
But I was going to say this is also a way to that a wizard can actually bank action points. If you banish a non-attack that has go again, then you just start your action phase with a card that you can play as an instant that has go again and your action point.
There's one card in all of Wizard that's a non-attack with go again right now, and it is
You're forgetting about Earth cards though.
unplayable. I am forgetting about Earth and Lightning cards.
And Lightning
That's true.
cards.
That's very true.
Well, but it has to be, or no, it has to be a non-attack action. I can't think of a lightning non-attack action that you'd want that does much of anything.
I mean, it depends on if you're trying to build Wizards all arcane or not. Because like you just play Electrify.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. So tomorrow.
Or Weave Lightning.
All right, so there's some options, and obviously we're gonna get more in this set. It's not gonna not have targets, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, it'll be a very specific. Don't just start building wizard decks that have that card in it. Like if
Yeah, no, you can't just put that card in your deck.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's the kind of card that if you're like, okay, I need to play this game out in a certain way and set up for a 6-card wizard hand thing, like it's that sort of card. It's not not just magically a staple or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all of the arts for them look really cool. I think I'm on the other side. Oh, go ahead.
So here's the interesting thing about the arts. We've seen, based on looking at the card database, that the promo art is different art from the art in the main set. So these cards have, it's not like just like extending the art. It is completely different art between the promos and the main set versions of the cards. And I think I like the main set versions better. Because all the promo arts is just like the actual sigil glowing in the air. But in the main set, it's these sigils like drawn on different things. Like Sigil of Cycles is a crop circle in a field in Aria instead of just this design, magic in the air. It's really interesting to like make the promos desirable, but still have the main set cards be interesting in their own unique way to do multiple arts like this.
That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about, the fact that it is different art for each of the promos.
Yeah. I like it.
The Runeblade ones are so pretty. So pretty.
They're really good. They're really good.
But yeah, so the sigils, moral of the story, they're all underrate. You need to have specific situations for them to be playable, I guess, beyond like niche playable.
I'm putting them in the transcend card category. It's like, as a card, this is bad, but it probably will unlock something because it seems to be such a big theme of this set so far.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to have cards that specifically want to banish sigils, and that's how you primarily turn on the Earth Heroes abilities. to stock their banishes with Earth cards.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest.
It's the biggest question mark in the set so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Because aside from the felling of the crown, there's not.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any other new ways to turn on either of the Earth heroes. All right.
Shall we?
Enough spoiler
Shall
talk.
we dive into? Yeah.
There will be more. There will be more. So skirmish season is coming up. Local game stores near you. They're certainly already on the schedule if they got one. You can find them on the event locator on the FaB mothership. Blitz and Living Legend. Start with Blitz because it's gonna be more of a brief traversal through that format.
Through Blitz.
Yeah, it'll be about as quick as a
Blitz.
game of Blitz. I should have just named the episode that. Could have been a 5-minute episode, and there we go. So,
all right, let's do it then. So there is a Blitz best deck. It's not close. It's Zen.
It's Zen.
So it turns out, you know how Zen in Classic Constructed plays all 9 Transcend cards because he wants to transcend as early as possible? Well, it turns out that because Transcend cards are legendary, and they're not playset restricted compared to CC because they're legendary, he gets to play 9 out of 40 cards that transcend in Blitz, which is a higher ratio of his deck than 9 out of 60 in CC, which means he transcends even faster in Blitz than CC, which means he kills you even faster in Blitz than in CC. And he also has Plunder Run, and he also has Belittle, and he also has all 3 colors of Bonds of Agony. It's not pretty. Ancestry. He does not play Bonds of Agony.
If your Zen opponent plays Bonds of Agony, please call a judge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's on paper, Zen is set to be even better in Blitz than full power no ban Zen was in CC.
It's bad.
Which is
it's
wild.
It's real bad.
This is probably, I'm guessing it's probably not quite on the same level, but like the last time that the Blitz format was
this broken,
this lopsided was probably
when was that?
Skeleton Viscerai?
Yeah, probably so.
When Viscerai just Superman leaped to become the first ever hero to Living Legend in any format because you could just 30 people on turn 2 with Skeleton.
Well, I think this format might be worse because there's a lot of Blitz games right now that end on turn 0. If your opponent doesn't have a big fridge, it's pretty easy for Zen to find, 29-ish damage on a 4-card hand if it's a really good 4-card hand, and just kill you. Viscerai was a turn 2 deck.
Oof. Big oof.
Format is not in a great place.
Not in a great spot. Needless to say, I think we're all pretty excited for the shift in emphasis to Living Legend. But if you are a brave soul hoping to show up to your local Blitz skirmish with something that isn't entirely blue, there are a number of options. Try at your own risk. Some of them are great. Some of them are maybe a little sus when trying to face down, in theory, a field that one would imagine is primarily filled with Zen, assuming your local players are showing up to really push and win for the prizes, which are pretty sweet. But there are some other options. OG Dash, still legal. Still gets to start with Teklo Plasma Powder in play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a really consistent aggro deck. Notably, with some important splashes of disruptive potential in T-Bones, Magnetic Shockwave to disrupt the armor shenanigans that Zen wants to do, as well as Pulse Wave Harpoon, which is just one of the best cards in Flesh and Blood for trying to get an edge in an aggro mirror. Plus, Dash just has a pretty good fridge, and I'm not sure if you'd want to go pistol or Hanabi blaster.
I
I think you're probably
pistol just to round out your resources.
I think
I guess.
I think Talishar actually is the preferred boost dash weapon.
Because
you can pay for it with Technical Foundry Heart, and the game doesn't last 3 turns, so it never rusts and breaks.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good point. My brain hadn't even gone there.
It's just multiple pistols in 1 turn, essentially.
Yeah, fair. Okay, yeah. So Dash is on the short list of things that I think you could reasonably try to bring to combat Zen. KO, probably not quite as strong in the face of Zen. You get you get the good 2 for 6 disruptive attacks. You still get a phenomenal fridge that is even further accentuated by the fact that the Blitz games are so short that that the power on KO's equipment will just shine even more than it usually does. Savage Sash is still crazy.
Pretty good.
Yeah. He's just kind of fair compared to Zen and even like Dash, to be honest.
Yeah, and sometimes the draw discard doesn't quite go your way, or you don't see Blood Rush Bellows in the first 2 turns, which is all you're going to get into Zen in a lot of games. Any disruption you try and play often is going to be subject to, well, I hope this is still in my hand after I make my lead up play to it, because I think trying to fight fair into Zen is not a winning strategy in all likelihood. The last deck that I have sort of in this similar category, though, that I have not seen people playing in Blitz, but feels like there's probably something there, is just Lexi.
I mean, so it's the only ice in the format? Yeah, it's the only ice in the format. Lexi's most powerful plays, though, typically involve Codex of Frailty. You need a turn or 2 to get good arrows in your graveyard to have a Codex, which she just doesn't really have time to do in Blitz. She's like the best mid-range deck in a format that's all about aggro. And I don't know that she has time to get to like the length of game that she wants to actually be playing. But I see the logic. I see the idea. There might be something there.
Yeah, and obviously classic Lexi, not entirely but largely skewed some of the ice things. But I wonder if an ice heavier Lexi that is specifically seeking to counteract Zen, right? Like, was it not Aether Ice Vein, Chilling Ice Vein? Chilling Ice Vein is a terrifying card. If you fuse that and then fire 2 arrows, the second one also has that on hit. It's just, there's only so much fridge for Zen. So I think if I was trying to put a deck together to specifically counter an event where I expected just like half the room to be on Zen, I think Lexi is probably where I would. Lexi and Dash are my 2 picks for where I'd spend my time there, I think.
So that's like tier 0, tier 1. There are some like tier 1.5 2 decks that you can play as well. Prism is never going to be bad. Luminaris and a pile of Wartune Heralds is just like a good question to ask your opponent. I feel like the Illusionists are really gatekept by the fact that Savage Sash Brutes exist in Blitz, and you just kind of can't really beat them unless you have a really well-timed pairable of Humility. But like, it's not an embarrassing deck to show up with in any capacity.
Yeah, the OG Lumidaris is just about as busted as it
Ridiculous card.
gets.
Yeah.
And Red Fortune Herald's a 1-for-7 with go again, so yeah, if you played 10 games, Zen probably wins more than half of them. To what
Way more.
degree? Not exactly
Yeah.
clear.
I think if you're trying to target Zen specifically, you can do the like Ultra Clash thing with Victor and just like play a bunch of tests and clashes, because you're going to win all of them against the deck that is a pile of blue 1-power attacks.
Don't forget some
That
of those
is
4-power attacks.
The issue is, does Victor beat anything else in the format? And I don't know that he does.
I think he's got respectable game into most things. I think Victor is the best, like, explicitly fair deck that Blitz probably has to offer.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
you draw extra cards, you
If you called
get the
Cast
good
Homes
value.
a fair card.
That's fair. Fair. Yeah, it's, you know, trying to play an honest game. You're getting good defensive value, trying to draw for a few gold, and then, you know, play your handful of sort of key disruptive attacks that eat through the fridge or stymie the biggest Zen turns. But if you hit a clunker, like, you just die. You're just like, well, this blocks for 12, which, great. Here's 30. Like, sometimes outclassed, but
Yeah.
definitely my pick for the best fair deck of the format.
All right. How do you unfairly beat Zen then if we're not playing fair decks?
Simply intimidate Zen out of the room as Reinar, or like triple rune gate Zen out of the room on turn 1 or 2 as Vincent.
I feel like Reinar and KO are in a really awkward position in Blitz right now, where like they have niches in CC. They individually have niches in CC. In Blitz, you really wish that after the die roll, you could decide, oh, I'm first, so I'm playing Reinar, or I'm second, so I'm playing KO.
You're not wrong.
It doesn't work that way.
Definitely does not, but you make a very good point. Yeah, like they both have situations where they will excel. They are not the same situations.
No, not at all.
But yeah, so Reinar and Vincent, they both are trying to win the game by, you know, jumping out to that huge early lead. Heart and Crossstrap is a banned equipment in Blitz.
Yeah.
And Vincent gets to wear that on her hands. That also says, here's 2 free damage.
And Brutes have it back too, across 2 attacks with Savage Sash.
True, very true. So yeah, so both of them have the potential juice to just sort of explode out of nowhere from relatively limited setup. Mm-hmm. That said, you know, for both of them, consistency is the problem. If your opening hand is a clunker, isn't good at setting up, you're going to struggle to compete with the format heavyweights. You really need your turn 0, turn 1 to be impressive to get out to that huge early lead to be able to close those games out.
I also think Blaze can steal games. It's hard now that Flare is drawn. Like everyone knew Wildfire was going away. I was kind of shocked that they took Aether Flare Red as well, but still very real. You know, double Red Emeritus Golden and Waning Moon is a 17 damage turn on your turn, which can kill most decks pretty easily. But you know, she's an annoyance. You have to, yeah. She's that annoying thing that you have to give up sideboard slots for to have Norrune. And I
Yeah,
guess kind of Emperor too, but like just play the better version of it with Blaze.
Is Enigma New Moon? Is that a real deck?
I wish it was a real deck. It does some very cool things.
Just not very quickly.
Never beating Zen, never beating Blaze because you can't just play Norrune. And that's some real problems because those are the two decks in the format that like ask your opponent the question of can you deal with me? And she can't really answer either of them. She can like maybe fatigue Zen, but not really. So it's not looking good for my girl. Not looking good.
yeah.
I
If
did actually just I just got one in the mail though.
a new
So
moon,
we're gonna try to make it work. Yeah, we're gonna try to make it work.
cold foil or rainbow foil?
Rainbow, I can't afford a $6,000 Marvel.
Oh, are they really that much? Oh my god.
Yeah,
Touche,
yeah.
touche.
The 1 of 100 Marvels. Yeah, they're going for around $6,000.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I don't think I will be trading my extended art tunic for one of those anytime soon.
I think you're making the right call.
And then, so you touched on possibly fatiguing Zen. And that brings me to the last couple heroes that I sort of had in mind. Uh, Professor Teklavasan, aka the Professor, and Yoji. Both of these uh, heroes were or fatigue oriented. I think they've both had, you know, uh, enough success to take notice that you can't assume that fatigue isn't a thing in the format.
Mhm.
That said, fatigue is an incredibly tough proposition in a Zen format, right? The two ways to beat
Yeah,
fatigue are just outlast them for that really long game, which is tough to do, or do 30 twice kind of thing. And Zen doesn't really have much issue doing that.
my other question is when the deck that you are trying to beat specifically with fatigue is a deck that doesn't clash well. How is Victor with Test of Strength that draws a card and Miller's Grindstone not just the better fatigue deck? Like, is Yoji's 2 life really better than Victor? You know, potentially having a 5 card defensive hand and churning Zen's deck even faster.
I feel like Riptide also goes in this pile of like fatigue decks.
Great point. Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't really
Collapsing
thought
Trap.
about Riptide for here, but
Yeah. Collapsing Trap in Blitz does more percent deck damage compared to CC.
and if you run plan for the worst, then suddenly you've got 3 of them
in 40 cards.
in 40
4
cards.
of them. Yeah.
Wait,
It's
why
not
is it 4?
okay. Because 3 plan for the worst and 1 actual
We're
collapsing
playing
trap.
Blitz, so it's 3 total in Blitz.
Yes.
Yeah.
But something else is that as Riptide, until you're like super late in the game, you just don't attack so that they can't block with their
Can't traverse
and striders.
Are we so deep in the rabbit hole that we're playing Master Malicious Manifestations or
No, you don't
Okay.
need to. You don't need to find an arrow. You're not attacking.
Okay. I understand the assignment.
You want Mount of Justice so that when they play an Art of War, you can draw an extra card,
You
extra
know what?
trap.
That's fair.
Yeah, the last honorable mention that I will mention for the format is just Briar. But I think from a purely competitive standpoint, if you're trying to go and win in this Blitz format, if you're playing Briar, you're making life harder on yourself. If you started with turn 0 Channel Mount Heroic every game, different story. But that doesn't happen, right? Like it's just you're not playing the best deck if you're playing Briar, even though Briar is sweet and fun, and pretty powerful. But Zen's got more power and more consistency, and yeah, it's a problem.
Okay. It's okay. We just talked
Speaking of more
about Zen.
power.
Yeah, we just talked about Zen for a while. It's okay though, because in Living Legend, we get to not talk about Zen, right? What's the deck to beat in Living Legend, Kevin?
Well, you see, in Living
I am
Legend,
seeing.
Zen
Yes.
is still the deck to beat.
Oh.
Unfortunately. So instead of Blitz making it so that the transcend card density is increased, thus improving Zen's consistency, in Living Legend, Zen again can run up to 9 Bods of Ancestry if the Zen player so chooses. And in addition to that, we have Belittle and Minnowism, classic
Yeah,
duo.
good cards. Good
And
cards.
turns out playing blue Belittle does in fact allow you to transcend off of whatever else is in your
Yeah.
hand, and it's all gross. And actually, I even thought
And there's one more ingredient here you're missing.
stubby hammerers.
Oh yes.
The
You thought those were gross in Phi. You haven't seen anything yet.
Don't let the tiger swipe hit.
don't
Yeah.
don't let a tiger swipe hit.
So bad.
Okay, timing question, because while I was like listing out the cards and everything, I
All right.
had this thought: if I no, there's probably no way you can't play blue belittle and transcend, hold priority, activate Zen, tutor a thing small enough to reveal to belittle, can you?
No.
Okay, I was
No.
like, you don't get
And
your own.
So normally, with almost every card in the game, you could do that, but belittle is templated weirdly, so it's an on-play trigger. You have to reveal as part of play, and then the tutor goes on the stack. Like every other card in the game, it's a layer step trigger, and you could transcend and then go get something to reveal. But specifically because belittle is messed up, no, you can't.
Okay, well, non-Zen players of Living Legend, at least you have that to hang your hat on. Zen can't do the busted thing I just thought of to be
Yeah.
even better. Yeah, the deck, for the same reason it's good in in every other format. It's consistent, runs a lot of resource cards, has access to huge damage turns, only further accentuated by stubby hammers. Think of like most CC Zen games, and think of how much value Tiger Swipe, Tiger Stripe Shuko gets.
Mhm.
Right? If the game even lasts, 6, 7, 8 turns, you're getting 6, 7, 8 value in
Mhm.
most normal Zen games. Well, what's better than 8 value over 8 turns? How about just like 10 value in 1 turn? Attack with 30 tigers and deal a trillion damage. Stubby hammers. Oh, go ahead.
Well, it is good to notice though that so Zen is really strong in Living Legend. He is the deck to beat. Luckily, Living Legend, compared to Blitz, is also full of a bunch of other stupidly broken, powerful decks. And so it's not just a mono Zen format, is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, it is not nearly as dominant compared to Blitz or CC. Probably the most busted in Blitz of the 3.
Not close, I don't think.
But yeah, still just very, very strong.
Mhm.
I think the thing about Living Legend that is most likely to give Zen fits is just the dearth of disruption the format has compared to CC. In CC, it's a little more constricted, right? Like, assassins are the disruption class, and then Azalea is sort of honorarily there because of Red in the Ledger.
Mm-hmm.
In Living Legend, we get all of the LL'd ice heroes back at full power now that, or at nearly full power from an ice perspective. Channel Lake Frigid is back in the mix. Icelander saw a resurgence at battle hardened Amsterdam.
Yeah. She's
Lexi
good.
is still in the format, and
Yes.
Starvo. People are adjusting. Getting a little boost with CLF coming back in. Like
You're
all
actually you're leaving one off the list too.
Oldhim.
Oldhim, Ice React, very good.
I hadn't
Because
really
they
even thought
can't
of that
just
too.
put a tiger back. Because if they put a tiger back, guess what? They're drawing a tiger next turn, which is somehow worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I think Oldhim actually carves out a niche in Living Legend format, specifically targeting Zen, because he just is so good at messing with Zen.
That's true. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have thought Oldham up to that particular job, but never count Ice out.
Never count Ice out.
Um, I think Icelander is probably my pick of just I think has the highest density and consistency of disruption being delivered to
Mm-hmm.
Zen, which probably makes her the best choice of the format to fight back. Even though he's very blue heavy, has access to belittle, it's still playing a Blizzard still takes an entire card from Zen if he wants to keep going with his turn. And the best way to fight Zen is make him fight you with smaller hands.
Yeah.
Not to mention 3 turns of Channel Lake Frigid goes a long way.
Extra turns of Channel Lake Frigid is always ridiculous. Absolutely. Coronet Peak, very good. Just because most of the Zen decks are playing Kassa, so they don't have Tunic for free. I imagine they will be citing Tunic in Living Legend format, but also just like it's nowhere near as powerful as what Zen could be doing, so you're still winning in terms of that. I think Icelander is it's not a free matchup by any means. Zen can absolutely still explode if you ever miss on disruption. But all of the ice decks really have a very reasonable path to victory in terms of keeping him under control.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the other couple heroes that actually came to mind in regards to specifically trying to combat Zen, Kano was one of them, just because
Yeah.
Kano can just
race
go.
him.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was the winner of Battlehardened Amsterdam was Alexander Vore on Kano in the Living Legend tournament. Kano can just explode sometimes.
Yeah. And then interestingly, Skeletor Phantasmia Visceri.
Yeah. Just don't attack. Don't let him traverse.
Exactly. Zen's got all this busted equipment. You're like, great. It's not gonna. Oh, actually, nope. I figured out why I'm dumb. Figured it out. Because Zen can just like send 3 cards. Like whenever you're actually close to popping off, they just need to sit on a pair of traverse cards. And whenever you attack with 40 rune chance, they just Zen state you.
that is
that would be a problem.
Countered.
That sounds problematic.
Okay, well, Visceri's off the list. Visceri's off the list.
Yeah, but if you still go like 10 attacks wide with your Sonata Arcanix, just putting like 10 attacks in your hand.
Well, no, you're not even doing Sonata Arcanix generally. It's Phantasmia now, which actually if you have enough to potentially go off, I guess you break Skeletor, you play Sonata Phantasmia, you add 50% more rune chance than what you already had, and you force them to discard 3 cards. So I guess if they, in response to that, double...
Is it capped at discarding 3 cards?
Yeah, I believe so. It's
okay.
Yeah. So if they double traverse and do the Zen state, you're just like, well, these rune chants aren't going anywhere. I don't have to attack you still.
True.
But you do have to discard
But
3
then you're
cards when
stuck
this is
for
all
2
done.
turns. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess it just depends if you can weather the
Sounds like we have
storm.
an interesting push and pull there. Yeah, we
Yeah.
might have to check that out more deeply.
Yeah. Interesting.
Another. So just because I don't see it on the list, another deck that can beat up Zen, his natural CC Predator, new. If you staple a red Plunder Run onto a blue stealth card, like Persuasive Prognosis or Bonds of Agony, it's real good. And she also is a natural belittle deck because she plays a ton of blue 0-for-1s. And she's very good at using the resources from fetching blue Minnowisms. In addition to just using all of Zen's blue cards very well in her own giant pop-off turn. Has some issues with literally the entire rest of the field, but the small wrinkle.
My fear would be Chain. Oh, I'm gonna block with this Blood Debt card. Oh, it gets banished because I blocked a stealth card. Oh, look, I get to also
I
play
get it back. Yeah.
Hear me out. What if every Seeds of Agony in my deck was a minimum of 3 value?
We got to block 2, and you got to play them out.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds awful.
But the counterpoint, right? So like new could be very, very good into Zen, but really bad into the rest of the format. I think Chain is in a tough place right now because so pure racing, Zen's ready to pop off in the first 1, 2, 3 turns. Chain takes a few turns to build up the shackles and really get that aggression train and huge pop off rolling. The amount of damage Zen, it's too slow. The amount of damage Zen's going to pump out in that time is a problem, right? Chain needs to do something. That something is play more disruption, but the deck list is obviously it's not full, but it's kind of tight. So you're taking slots from other matchups to sideboard cards that you don't really want to be running, like Blanche or CNC, Weakest Link.
What's your favorite card in the game? The yellow
Cryptic Crossing.
Cryptic Crossing. It's time for Cryptic Crossing. Oh wait, Zen has a fridge that fully blocks it out with no cards from hand.
Yep. It do be like that.
Why does he have 7 blocks?
Shackle it and play 2 of them.
That's a 6-card play. Can't do that.
Art of War.
Art of War.
Definitely.
Sure. That doesn't work. Don't try and play 2 in a turn. It's bad. The card's yellow on purpose, so 2 of them, one can pitch into the other. It's perfect. Yeah, Cryptic Crossing I do think is unironically good in the format, particularly in Chain specifically, because Shackles and every other buff and spell he has is 0 cost, so it keeps it simplest for him to really enable it. But yeah, Chain's definitely on the wrong end of that particular matchup. And then, with Icelander being most likely to be the most prominent counter or attempt at an answer to Zen, while I don't think it's massively unfavored, it's probably Icelander favored, at least without making, again, some deck building concessions, right? Finding room for more blues, but when you do that, you take some of the power off the top, right? Like you're sacrificing raw power for some more consistency. So tough to got to work to find that balance, and it's possible, but I don't know that it's possible to fix Chain right now such that you're like, yeah, I can 50-50 Zen and also consistently beat Icelander, and then also not give up your generally favorable matchup into plenty of the rest of the format.
Yeah.
Just not enough cards.
What's left in the format? I mean, I know we didn't. That's not like a large number of heroes by number, but it is kind of a diverse top of the field. I guess Prism in terms of
Both
like
prisms.
illusionist representation in Living Legend, I don't think Enigma has the chops to compete essentially at all. Dromai, maybe. Thunder Run in like, aggressive, here's 3 Blaze Headlongs, Dromai, never a bad thing.
I'm a big fan of Dromai. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that play pattern, but we're doing an in-house Living Legend tournament for Team Eclipse. I was looking at Dromai. I was like looking at the matchups. It's like all of Dromai's bad matchups, Living Legend. So then she was able to get to the top tables and then Living Legend herself. So now the format is just all of her bad matchups that have already Living Legend and none of her good matchups. So
Have hit Living Legend yet? Yeah.
right.
That
Not
That is
it's
problematic. So
gonna need a Dromai rework if something's gonna happen there.
so if you want to play Illusionist in Living Legend, the answer is Prism. Kind of obvious, just based on that. I am not actually sure if you're supposed to play Prism Sculptor of Arclight or Prism Awakener of Soul. It's like, do I want 8 more life, or do I want a hero text box that says literally anything? Because Sculptor of Arclight really doesn't have much of a text box, especially in a world where Rapture gives you a pitch outlet, which is primarily what Prism Sculptor of Arclight's text box was for anyways. I think Prism Awakener of Soul might be the better illusionist in Living Legend.
I love that that's even possibly true.
Yeah. No, like seriously. She can play Luminaris. For matchups where like it's really important to loop, which I'm not sure there are any, she can still play Lag. Like there's nothing stopping her from just having both weapons in her sideboard. And just Luminaris original with Rapture, you just against Zen, you have a 5-card hand, you pitch a yellow, you play Wharton Herald, Wharton Herald, Wharton Herald. One of those hit, I'm going to Rapture this Angel, and with the blue that I pitched after my yellow, attack you with this Aegis and make 2 Spectral Shields. And, 7, 14. Let's say one of them was Miraging Metamorph, so we hit 21 value, 22, 23 from the 2 shields. 4 to 5 to 6, 27 from attacking, 28 to 9, 30, 31 from Ward 4. A 31 value for 5-card hand.
That's what Living Legend's for.
That's some Zen
That's
math right
what
there.
Living Legends for.
That's sweet. There are a few more. Let's see. We have a few more LL'd heroes who are worthy of a mention, but probably not it right now. Briar, presumably about to get some juice from Rosetta. I mean, they're literally.
We know that she has a card in Rosetta, right? Like that was confirmed by James White in an interview that there's a card that only she can play.
Right, which obviously doesn't actually guarantee, but like all but guarantees in my mind that it's just another Earth/Lightning talent card. Hopefully to nudge Briar players to play Blossoming Spellblade, because that is just the coolest card that could never get there, because at minimum it's like a 4-card hand unless you line it up with your one of Pulse.
I think they specifically said it enables a new archetype as well. So like we're doing something crazy.
Yeah.
They figured out how to make Briar play elemental cards.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Fingers crossed. And then our first LL'd ninja, Vi, who admittedly did get some upgrades from Parthemis Veil. Aspect of Tiger Body is very good. And I'm blanking. There was the new head jab that makes a tiger in Banish when it hits. It's just
Biting Breeze.
Biting Breeze, yes, thank you. Yeah. So like marginal upgrades, but nothing.
These are good cards. Here's the problem with Fi. Zen does literally everything better. Like, there is not a single thing that FaB does better.
There's literally a single thing.
All right.
FaB gets to play Thaw in a icy landscape. That's the one thing.
So he does get to do that, but also Zen just plays 30 blue. So, like, how much is
You're not
one
wrong.
frostbite making a difference anyway?
Look, I was trying to find something for FaB. Okay.
You're right. You're right.
The boys in
have
shambles.
I have it for you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
FaB
ready.
still plays Mask of Momentum, which is what Dromai hates to see.
You're not
Also,
wrong.
Did I
Yeah.
miss something? Is FaB Living Legend? Did I miss? Or is he just on
No.
here because we were talking about it?
It's
Okay.
not Living Legend.
Okay, because Kevin said that and like threw me up. I was like, did I miss like a major like?
Oh no,
He's
I was thinking he hit. No, he just he won Worlds. What am I saying? He's not LL. He just was the early LL format ninja staple. I'm a
I
crazy
tried to
person.
keep a straight face because it was funnier to just let it slide.
Yeah.
Oops.
For the video listeners, I don't know. My face is gonna be hilarious. Kevin said that. I'm just like staring at my computer screen. Like, did I miss? I swear I keep up with this game, but did FaB hit Living Legend and I just missed it somehow? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex, pay attention. What are you
Okay.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, it
It
has.
was a long day at work. All right. Any other
I think we have
honorable
one more thing,
mentions?
and it's your speculation, right?
Okay, yeah, pure speculation. I think Aurora is going to be pretty sick in LL because Ball Lightning is there and Plunder Run is there, and it's just going to be, I don't know, it's gonna be full on Lightning Briar. Doesn't have to fuss around with Channel Mount Heroic to get the damage numbers to compete. I think Aurora is going to be sweet. Like Aurora in LL is the thing about the new set that I'm like at the moment most excited for. I think it's just going to be a blast to play.
So I have a question. If we get, obviously, Terra is a Blitz hero now. Out of the first strike decks, if we get an adult version, is that something you could play in Living Legend? Because you could then have access to Crown of Seeds. You can like get your might tokens and then play a bunch of like concusses and thumps to like have disruption because you just constantly have might tokens.
Survey says yes. That sounds kind of
could be
dope.
sold.
Yeah.
Our next Armory deck, it's got to be Adult Terror, right? It's got to be.
It'd be cool. I also wouldn't be surprised if they throw a bone the other direction and it's a new ranger, like a lightning ranger, so that Lexi
for the
fans
Lexi fans
aren't left on their own for too long. But yeah, Adult Terror would be awesome. Like so much modular value between Terror ability, Rampart, Crown of Seeds, CNC for 7 for days.
So outside of Chain, which technically has a replacement in Vincent, the hero that's been Living Legend with no CC replacement the longest is Oldhim. So it would make sense for them to like next return some form of Elemental Guardian to CC. I think that leans me more towards we see Terra appear as an adult before we see some sort of Elemental Ranger replacement.
That's possible, but we're also getting the Guardian Master set in 2025.
Yeah.
Yes. That's probably... I expect that to be fully untalented, though. I don't know.
But it's crack shuffle play, so talents sort of run against that, right? Because you can't... you can't crack shuffle play unless it's all that talent.
I mean, I guess
hero. It doesn't really work.
I guess you can, because you just say in crack shuffle play that listen, the heroes can play whatever. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. My bets would be Terra before the Elemental Ranger. As cool as Elemental Ranger is, the math says
I'm with you,
adult Terra.
and I'd like to see it because adult Terra sounds dope. Terra's the first Guardian that I've seen that I'm like, I do want to play this hero. Let me
Yeah,
brawl, make some might tokens, and do
it's
dope shit.
such an inconspicuous hero ability until you think about all the little cool things you can do with it. It just is the best Sledge of Niflheim deck in the game.
All the Guardian cards, or all the Guardian defense reactions that cost 2.
Yeah.
Turn Timber, Fuse, +1 value to it.
hmm
That sounds like a 2
Then
for
on
8
your
to me.
turn, you pitch 2 cards to Sledge for 7, and also, you get to make a new might because you still have one floating from your Earth cards. Suddenly, you had an entire turn cycle that was like 14 value, and you spent 1 card out of deck. It's
And you make a
ridiculous.
Seismic Surge so that your
Mhm.
next turn, when you play your 3 cost, you've got 1 floating to make another might token.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Elements are sweet. Good. I think talents might just be great.
This just
Okay,
in.
okay, okay,
Breaking.
okay, okay. So Blitz, Zen is the best deck. Living Legend, Zen is the best deck. Not like nearly as bad, but still the best deck. It's okay though, because CC, right, Kevin?
Right. Yeah.
Right, Kevin? CC Zen isn't the best deck,
Well,
surely.
you see, in CC, Zen is still the deck to beat.
Oh.
On the bright side, New can do a pretty decent job of it. It seems like I haven't played it a lot, but a lot of people seem to think that New is the best thing resembling an answer. Welcome to Zen and Blood. Not be taking any questions.
We will be taking comments and likes and subscriptions, though. We'll take those.
As always. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. So, as always, thanks for hanging out. And me, Alex, and the specter of Rhea will
Empty
we'll
chair.
catch you next time. Bye, friends.